and accountability in African government through blockchain technology. Once again, my name is Simili. But before we get right into it, I would like to introduce our esteemed guests as they have taken their time to be with us here today. Our first speaker, our first panelist is Mr. Brian Sonia Mondo. Mr. Mondo is the founder of Blockchain Less Group and Crypto Monday Caribbean. He is a dual qualified barrister and an attorney at law with his deep expertise in legal practice and compliance. He specializes in anti-money laundering, crypto asset recovery, and financial regulatory compliance. Mr. Mondo's leadership in this area and his commitment to advancing blockchain and legal tech makes him a key voice in our conversation today. We are delighted to have you here, Mr. Mondo. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Simiolua.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. All right, so I want you to introduce our next panelist, Famina PM. Famina PM is a blockchain consultant and AI automation specialist, leveraging emerging technologies to drive transparency and efficiency. With over 7 years of experience working in IT industry, Femina brings a unique perspective on how this innovation can transform public service delivery and strengthen institutional accountability. Femina is a powerful advocate of blockchain innovation, and we are delighted to have her here with us today. You're welcome, Femina.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me, Similora.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for coming and honoring our invitation. So, also joining us today is Mr. Daniel Rodriguez Miguel, a seasoned leader who is originally from Spain and now based in Luxembourg. He is the co-founder of the Luxembourg House of Web3 and serves as the partner and business director of Woodlaw. His work has positioned him at the forefront of blockchain innovation. We are thrilled to have him here with us today. You're welcome, Mr. Daniel.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me here, for the opportunity to speak with this fantastic, let's say, panelist. And also thank you for the audience, to join us as well, because, with the working hours, personal life is not always easy. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for honoring our invitation. All right, let's dive into it. So over the years, corruption has been a main challenge in many African countries. So, Mr. Brian, with blockchain technology evolving every day, what are your thoughts on how blockchain technology can be used to make governance system more transparent and accountable?
Okay. First of all, thank you for that. I'm struggling to hear you. Your microphone kit is a bit muffly. So I didn't get the first part, but I'm guessing I can answer based on the second half of your answer, which is what blockchain can be used for in terms of governance. So blockchain in itself is supposed to create this trustless ecosystem that provides a sort of equity, or removing the middleman that cuts off everything from other people. Now, blockchain in itself is supposed to also achieve transparency and tamper resistance, and provide that sort of structure that you can see through and all through. However, the question is the African continent prepared for such things? Okay, because blockchain I look at blockchain as electricity. It has multiple use cases. And One of the use cases is governance, because as it is, blockchain is simply put, it's a data governance engine. Okay, because it helps you organize systems, and you can layer it with other things to make it work. So in terms of governance, yes, it can achieve governance, but how do you implement it within the jurisdictions in Africa? Because you have to understand, if you're trying to achieve transparency, it's important to understand transparency for who, which stakeholders. Is it for the Joe and Jane public? Is it for the suppliers or the vendors in the system? Is it for the media or other key people? So who exactly are we trying to bring about this transparency for? And the reason I've kind of gone round and round with this answer is this is exactly my area of study for my PhD that I'm currently conducting. So even I don't have a particular answer to this question at this moment, but I'd like to approach it from a way of, to what extent can it bring about that overhaul in governance in terms of improving integrity and transparency? But is it in itself, or is it with other systems? So let's say in the example of public procurement, there's electronic procurement systems in place in different countries. There's what they call the OCDS system. You could is open contracting data standard. So there's that. So how is blockchain going to be brought into this? And ultimately, is there going to be institutional buy-in in terms of the public sector to accept blockchain in its current form? And what type of blockchain? Is it a public blockchain or a private blockchain or a hybrid blockchain? So there's a few questions and nuances to consider in how that can be done. So probably I haven't answered you, but I just wanted to throw out the reflection out there. But then again, one aspect we also have to consider is probably trying it out in the private sector and seeing how it can be used, because if you're waiting for governments to move, they might never move. So probably try it out in the private sector, potentially have a sandbox and see how it works. And then, when the government sees that people are really getting into this, then it can happen. The last thing I will say is blockchain is here to stay, and it's making really progressive moves, because like an hour ago, just before this conference, the UN announced that it's going to have a blockchain academy for a majority of its institutions within the UN. So UNDP, UNESCO, and other institutions within the UN. So it just goes to show you that the recognition is there. And in the just concluded American elections, the aspect of Web3 and all was a pertinent point of discussion, and in the UK as well. So it's just for the audience to marinate on that and see exactly what they think in terms of blockchain governance in Africa. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for that insightful word. I would like to pass on the question to Mr. Daniels. I would like to hear your thoughts on the question.
Your mic is on mute.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah. You mean the same question again, right? The same question as...
Yes. What are your thoughts on how blockchain technology can be used in governance system to make it more transparent and accountable?
Yeah, no, thank you very much. I think, my panelists elaborate pretty well. I don't have too much to say, but I will try to do my best. Basically, for instance, I recall when the CEO of Binance very recently mentioned that, recently, last year, he was asking one of those big events in Token 2049 or something like this. Do you think in Africa it's difficult to set up crypto blockchain in general? And he said, Yes, in terms of finance, no, in terms of finance, it's easy because the bank sector is not developed, unlike in Europe or in USA, right? It means you have to go directly to blockchain. You can skip this bureaucracy because it's what my panelist basically Brian mentioned that if you are waiting for the government to move ahead, there is too much bureaucracy. I mean, I live here in Europe and I can see that, because the local organization here is the CSSF, and then for approve anything is very slow, of course, of the regulations. It means should be a kind of mingle between the private and the public sector. They should move on that way. And then, for instance, as well as what I will really push on that one, because Africa is growing, is blooming, okay, and then I think you're just getting some surprises. I luckily worked with a couple of startups in Nigeria last year for Nigeria in remotely, and then I noticed the talent are there. I think you have a very good advantage because if you go to the pyramidal, let's say in terms of demography, you have a very strong young people, well educated, because now it's not like, okay, if financially can afford going to the university, whatever, now everything is on internet. You only need connection, okay? And then as per certain studies, okay, most of the people in Africa, they have telephone or internet rather maybe another basic goods, which is positive in the fact that you can develop yourself, you can move on, and you can take decision. You can go ahead about that. Another, let's say, advantage, for instance, the government can set up in order to improve the current situation in general in governance is the voting system. There are some applications. Indeed, in 2021, I was working in one with a tribe and in a Singapore accelerator in order, to make transparent the voting. Voting system is also, you see yesterday, a couple of days ago, the USA elections, they were threatened because, could be, not the right outcome. People was concerning about they can do something. The middlemen, my colleague Brian mentioned before, you don't have the middlemen anymore. Okay, it means you can go directly to the point, and then developing this kind of system with transparency, with this decentralization, could be also a must. And then, sometimes I really like in Africa, there is a lack of talent. It's not true because, again, I luckily work with some of you, okay, and you have a very huge potential. It's just a matter to be on the map. You don't need external people anymore. It's a matter to believe on yourselves and move on. And then just basically, to go in short is like, I think the private sector should push a little bit more on that. And then, as Brian mentioned, don't wait for the public to do it. Because, of course, they are in the comfortable zone. I noticed that in Europe as well. They don't want to move from the classic methodology. Here in Luxembourg, still when I'm going to the doctor, Luxembourg, when they are boasting, they are very digital. Still when I'm going to the doctor, I need to send my invoice in the post. And then I need to wait 3 weeks in order to get refunded 90% of the invoice, because of the tax I am paying. You see, it's not transparent at all. Why you are not doing directly on the phone? Why you don't have a QR code or something like this? This kind of challenge, since in Africa, there are not quite implemented, like in Europe, in USA, or maybe in the southeast of Asia, is the opportunity to skip that step and move on. And then, again, just to recap, okay, you have the talent, you have the education, you have the sources more than before, and you are more and more developing, okay? And it's a matter of time. You will be there. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. I was even coming to that, whereby I think you mentioned one of the challenges that is making the African countries not really adopt the blockchain technology into governance. You stated the issue of, I think Mr. Bryan stated the issue of funds.
Yeah.
And I would like to hear from Famina. All right. So although we know that these challenges are there, they are bound to be there. Nobody's open to new. Nobody's open. Sorry.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Okay. So I was saying that Mr. Bryan one mentioned one of the challenges that is making African countries not adopt blockchain technology into governance. He stated one of finance, right? There is not enough finance. Can you just share your thoughts on what are the current challenges, like other challenges apart from finance, that you think the African governments face, and how do you think these challenges can be overcome?
Sure, sure. So apart from what Brian just mentioned, the financial issue, I think there are some other issues like the infrastructure gap. Okay, so with only about a third of Africans having reliable internet access, so that's a major issue. We have infrastructure gap. And second, of course, the cost constraint, because a blockchain implementation can cost several $1 million. So as just Brian mentioned it. And third, I think it's the human factor. Surveys show that about a third of government officials express concerns about how these changes are going to might affect their job. So, and one more thing is the expertise, the need for, expert people, and the availability of expertise, human resources. So these are some of the challenges that I feel that are, striking for or blocking the blockchain adoption in African governance. However, I believe that these challenges are surmountable. The key is phased approach, actually. Start with a high impact pilot project. Build capacity through public-private partnerships and scale gradually. Okay, so I have seen this work, effectively, successfully in several countries. So the most exciting part is that as we overcome these challenges, we are not just implementing new technology. Actually, we are building the foundation for more transparent and effective government. So I think, yeah, that's, incorporate the challenges and, it's a way forward and we'll do it.
Could I just chime in something real quick, yeah? So
sure.
In terms of the present discussion on blockchain, it's also important to realize that blockchain as blockchain is not the be-all and all solution for transparency and all these things, okay? So blockchain is a subset of distributed ledger technologies. Now, there are some other DLTs that could fulfill some of the attributes that we need for transparency, all right? And then there are some things that the blockchain can do. Not all DLTs are blockchain, okay? So there are some attributes that blockchain can fulfill that other DLTs cannot fulfill. So it's a matter of understanding what exactly the use case is for. There's some countries like New South Wales, in Australia, New South Wales, they've used the blockchain for their driver's licenses. In America, the DMV for the motoring, wherever, they've used some aspects of blockchain. You can use some aspects of blockchain for issuing land registry certificates and, birth and death records. You can use NFTs for university degree certificates and all that. So aspects that require provenance or aspects that don't require, amendment. But also you have to realize that there's some legal realities, because you see some technology like blockchain was not envisioned within the traditional regulations. So in terms of privacy with the GDPR and other data protection regulations, so once the document is on chain, could you write over? Of course, you can't delete the blockchain, the data on the chain. So do you say after block X, block AA is an override of, let's say, Daniel's records or Famina's records? So you consider AA as opposed to X? There's many nuances to think about. Or when it comes to the GDPR, let's say there's the right of erasure and, right to be forgotten and all those things. you have to consider such attributes. Or if you could just have like a aspect of the blockchain that reflects X and the rest of the information is hidden within the Merkle trees and all that. So really, it's not a cut and paste solution. You just have to understand the use case and how you can apply other nuances to the chain, like zero knowledge proofs and all that. Like there's plenty things to be discussed as well.
Yeah. You mentioned something intriguing that I found so intriguing. You mentioned that there are some problems the blockchain cannot, it's not like only blockchain that can solve the problems. And we have other DLT, distributed ledger technology, that can also perform the work way better than blockchain can. Wow, I never knew that, and thank you for that insightful word. Okay, so around the world, for instance, in several countries, there are several cases of electoral malpractices. Let me give a context. My country, there is a recurrent problem. It's every time there is election, there is this problem of rigging, even though the person you vote for is not the person that would like get to the post. And it has just been an issue. Even the last one was like the youths in my country were like, no, we're not going to collect this and stuff like that. But then we had to accept. So how do you think blockchain technology can reduce this inefficiency and ensure that the people that we vote for are actually the people that are going to be there?
Yeah, what do you mean exactly? Like if you are eventually issue the vote, will be the right one, right? The right candidate, okay? Won't be any fraud or something like this. Is the question, right? You are talking about elections, if I understood properly.
Yeah, I'm talking about my country. There is a recurrent problem of electoral malpractices. So I was asking that, what do you think? Like, how do you think blockchain technology can be used to reduce this inefficiency so that the people that we vote for are the people that are actually going to be there?
Yeah, no, it's like, I think, what I mentioned, and now I was looking, because I know by heart one of the applications, could work for that, because I think it's a recurrent project. That's why I mentioned in 2021, I was working in a kind of pilot with an accelerator in Singapore, here on remote. And then, this is what's happening, because the elections usually doesn't matter where is, always there are kind of polemic, because you never know, everyone can agree. And then with blockchains, it's transparent, it's decentralized, as Brian explained pretty well, and also Femina. It can give them us, because again, you mentioned as well, blockchain is not God coming from the heaven, it's the tool, it's the way, to move on. Is that because sometimes we don't need to mingle or to mix up that blockchain is fixing all the stuff, the typical meme you see on the internet, Bitcoin or blockchain fixed it. No, it's the tool, it can help us. And then of course this one, first of all, is avoiding this middleman, because you can track the records easily, of course, in the transparent way. And then you will avoid men in the middle, you will avoid spending money, because eventually, okay, you have to pay for the workforce, and then will be eventually, is quite difficult to hack. Of course, I won't say it's impossible to hack, because you never know, it's the kind of life cycle. But then, for every single country, not only for yours, because I am aware that you know about the problems you have there, unfortunately, is, the matter that you put it in place, a kind of system that everyone will understand, because it's usually user-friendly. It's not quite complicated. It's like, to fill out a questionnaire. And then, since there is nobody in between, or like the data is not public until 5-6 days, you see what happened in Venezuela. It's an easy example, right? The elections were 2 months ago. Eventually, happen, and usually in 1 day, 2 maximum, you count the votes properly. And then after 5-7 days, didn't happen. And then, I won't go into politics, of course, but what was the outcome? Eventually Maduro was elected again. And then most of the people was not happy. But then he said, no, I was winning. But then you know what, you never know what he did with the votes. If this is a blockchain system, which cannot be necessarily expensive, you can fix that. Because again, it's decentralized, transparency, all the triangle, you know, all the, let's say, principles about blockchain. I won't invent the wheel right now. And then this is, you know, the way, of course, you know, you can do it. But first of all, the government should accept that. But if you are living in democracy, you know, the most populi will raise the hand, will say, hey, listen, let's be fair, let's do it. And as you said, if the candidate A is elected above the B one, will be there in a minute. Don't need to wait, you know, a couple of days, you know. And then since, you know, you can use this kind of, let's say, technology, you can avoid the fraud as well in finance as well, but as well as, you know, in the voting system. And also, you know, for everyone will be quite clear. The only thing you need is light, because if without electricity, so light, electricity is not happening. And just, you know, a proper system in place, and it's not expensive at all. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. All right. I feel Mr. Brian wants to add something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I'm gonna take it and then from a small point, and then we scale up.
Yeah.
So if you look at voting as voting, you can't vote on the blockchain because when you look at things like DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, there's voting protocols within the DAO, and that's why, you know, one vote, one token is equal one vote, and then not each token is equal, because let's say if it's a system that's using proof of stake, the more the more tokens you have, the more voting power you have, okay? And you can sway the votes, okay? So it's not a foolproof thing, but that's just looking at it from the angle of decentralized autonomous organizations. When it comes to voting in terms of general elections, woof, the scale is huge. Looking at places like Nigeria or India, where you have like huge populations, you have to understand, first of all, which chain you're going to use and how you're going to scale it towards towards such things, privacy requirements. Because you see, when that data is on chain, it's easy, because when it's on chain, it's not anonymous, it's pseudonymous. So there's some attributes of the of the keys, of the public keys, that can be associated with some people, okay? That's why it's pseudonymous, not fully anonymous anyway. So I've heard this question a million times. And I guess some of the people who've asked me this question are in this session as well, because we recently finished educational camp, and some of our students were asking us, they want to develop like electoral systems on blockchain and all that. And we told them it really depends. So I'm going to give a safe answer in terms of a legal, you know, a legal answer, and just say it depends. It depends on the chain. And Daniel, I agree with you, on chain, off chain. But then again, it's never so obvious. There's nuances to that as well, and you know this. In terms of the speed, the layer 2, depending on what layer 2 it is. But I'm not saying it's impossible.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying we have to apply our brains towards such solutions, because even I am from places where people complain of, you know, the outcome of elections. And I guess every country in the world complains of such things. But I understand the question, and I guess somebody should actually from the audience, like express themselves regarding what they probably think should be done. And I haven't looked at that material in terms of literature review. So probably some people have written about it. But if people haven't written about it, it's potentially an opportunity for some people to extend that logic and write further on it in terms of electoral processes.
All right, thank you so much, Brian. I feel Femina wants to add something.
Famina, your mic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was just going through what just Brian said. So I have actually we have already implemented something which is we say 100% decentralized in a DAO. Actually, what we utilized is a DPOA, that is distributed proof of authority. So what we did is like in the organization. We have selected on a voting panel. We have choose 100 or a number of members, and they are they have given equal authority. So there, the one vote is equal to means it's a proof of authority. So every vote is equally important, or it weighs in equally. So I think that if you are implementing, those is a bit, kind of twisted consensus and all that stuff, we can actually implement 100% decentralization. It's possible actually.
All right. Thank you so much. Okay. So I'm curious about your vision for the next blockchain-enabled government, and how does it look like in the next decade, and what function might be much more impactful? Famina.
I'm sorry. It was in, okay. Can you just repeat it? I didn't get it.
Okay, so I said I'm curious about your vision of what a blockchain-enabled government would look like in the next decade, and which function would it make it much more impactful?
So for me, a government with a blockchain governed system, right? So for me, it will be more like an empowering citizen. For that, first thing, the citizen should be having access to information. When the citizens, or I would say, if they can track government spending in real time, and they can see, or they can the public can the public contracts can become visible and verifiable. In these matters, the citizens are more empowered, right? And also sorry sorry. So yeah. So what I think is that within the long-term vision for a blockchain. Sorry, let's see.
Your mic is muted, Famina.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that the government, they should have, first thing, should have an automated tax system that provide real-time revenue tracking and instant refunds. So this we can, this blockchain integrated government, maybe I envision that first they should have an automated tax systems, then the smart city infrastructure, where public services respond to citizens' needs in real time. That's the second thing that I envision. And thirdly, I think, as we already mentioned, the digital voting system that citizens can access securely from maybe their phones. Okay, and fourthly, I think the integrated healthcare and records that maintain privacy while improving service delivery. Actually, we have already seen all these early versions of this in countries like Estonia and other African nations, which have already implementing it. So I think African nations have the opportunity to leap forward directly to these advanced systems. So the key is starting with high impact services that directly affects citizens' daily lives.
All right. Thank you so much, Favina, for that insightful ways where we can be how you if you can see the future just like that. I feel every citizen would really love their country.
Definitely, definitely. We will have more tax compliance, when it's like building trust in the citizen, right? People, when people become, more trustworthy, they trust the government, there'll be tax compliance will be better, and every other aspects of life will be better.
Yeah, thank you so much for your insightful words. Before moving on, please, to the audience, if you have any question, we have been dropping the link on the chat box. So if you have any question, kindly copy the link and then just paste your question on the website, and then we'll get right to it after the panel section. All right. So as we look forward to a more sustainable future for Africa, like how do you see blockchain playing a role in achieving these development goals? I think I'll be directing this question to Mr. Daniel.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, I see, because in one of the big issues right now is the famous, global increase, is increasing the temperature and so on. And I think, we'll take action on the climate change, especially, in the carbon credit trading. This is, a must. Indeed, I am now working with one of the companies that, is, let's say, developing this kind of carbon credit, because especially, is the famous Agenda 2030. You can be in favor or against, okay, but it will be there. And then as well as, because we'll be quite transparent, everything, how much, let's say, pollution is there. Also, I think, since Africa, is very popular for the wildlife, especially, the big animals you have there. I think for the wild animals conservation, with blockchain, you can track easily, which species are in jeopardy, and then, somehow, be more efficient when it comes, to protect, to avoid, let's say, those, the individuals, they are after them. Also, as well as, in sustainable management, for the forests, for the lakes, for all the nature you have down there. I think, those, when it comes, to climate action, I think, is the question you formulate, are for me the three pillars, carbon credit trading, wildfire conservation, and also sustainability resource management. And of course, in Africa, spread it in Nigeria. I think Laos by 2015 is only 25 years. I think will be the most populated city in the town with the outskirts. And I think, also, somehow blockchain can support, in the urban, let's say, in the urban setup, the city itself, because in order to calculate the distance, also, how much, is spending on this, on that, okay, in order to have, let's say, 80 million population people in a decent life. I think those are the pillars, yeah.
Oh, wow, okay. Thank you so much for your insight. I feel, Mr. Brian, would you like to add something to this?
First of all, I'd like to say it's inevitable. The application of blockchain, or not just of blockchain itself, but in various variations, blockchain, smart contracts, or applications of digital IDs, decentralized physical indicators, and all that. It's happening. NFTs in terms of music, in terms of art, in terms of other use cases beyond multimedia, like real estate, education, health records. As Femina said, you don't need to go to the doctor and give your records all the time, okay? You need to have it on your phone. Daniel can echo that as well. You don't need, when you need your health records, you don't need to make an application to the hospital for your own records. Everybody out there has your records, but you yourself, okay? You need to have all that. We need to move from generation of not owning things to owning your own information and getting rewarded for your own information, okay? of being part of the ownership of government institutions. If there's procurements to be done, you need to know how it's being done, when it will be done, how it will be done. There's been arguments. I think it's Ukraine. Ukraine uses a system called Prozoro. So Prozoro is basically they decided we are going to throw transparency at everybody, but it has brought up some, okay, so there's pros and cons of transparency as well. So not everything is just good to have in plenty. Okay, so you need to have balances, because when there's also too much transparency, there's anti-competition measures and collusion and all that. So there's factors you need to also look at and consider, as I said. And Africa has the population, it has the numbers, it has the knowledge. And, in terms of the arguments against energy usage, Africa has geothermal energy, it has hydro energy, it has various sources of energy that could power up these systems, these mines, or however you want to apply this technology. Sorry, is that me or is that somebody else's whiteboard? Is that me?
No, that's not you. Sorry, Aquago, please, can you, okay.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So the applications are wide and vast. If you're looking at things such as provenance, like, let's say you want to get the best egusi soup from Nigeria and you want to package it to Europe. So you put the QR code on the thing, you can see like from farm to table, you can trace it. IBM had such a use case where they were experimenting with flowers that were being shipped from Kenya to Europe. You can see. So if there's a particular batch of things that are rotten or spoiled, you can easily recall, you make the recall and, identify this cereal, it's here, because wherever it goes. So if it reaches, let's say, Nigeria to Ghana, you tap. From Ghana to Cote d'Ivoire, you tap. To whatever, by the time it reaches, let's say, Paris or wherever, like it's crossed hand from Similua to Daniel to Brian to Femina, the points, okay? So the little challenges that are making people a bit scared of implementing this technology, not everything is perfect, but it does make things better, okay? It really does make things better. That's why I'm an advocate for this thing, because I believe in it. It's bringing about data integrity, bringing about transparency. And, if somebody tries to do some nefarious actions, you can easily go back to trace it. So even with things like money laundering, it's difficult to launder money on the chain, because you can literally go back on the chain and see where the funds are coming from and where they're going, and how to do asset tracing on that particular thing. So I think we can go on all day and night about what blockchain can do. I think it's a lovely technology, and it's just basically a glorified ledger. It's basically just, a reverse chain ledger that cannot be amended. So it's append only, you can't amend it. So it's such a simple thing that does so many valuable things as well. So of course I see it taking place. Different governments in Africa experimenting on it. I know Nigeria is big on this. Uganda as well is trying. I think Zanzibar the other day was trying. Dubai, come on, Dubai is at the forefront of blockchain, and you can see the benefits. And when you have governments that are forward thinking and trying to support such things, then it makes it better for the citizen at the end of the day. So I see it staying. And as I said, you're seeing institutions like the UN taking it up now. You're seeing all these governments talking about it. In whatever shape or form, they might say, let's not look at it from the crypto assets aspect of it, but let's look at it from the CBDC aspect of it. But one thing, it goes to show you that the conversation is being considered, but they just want to do it in a way that still protects their interests and it doesn't go the full-on decentralized way. But then again, you have to ask yourself, what's decentralization? To what extent is decentralization? Because you have mining pools that can control some of these votes and how things are determined, so it's a question of just thinking through this thing and applying it to your actual case and to your actual benefits. That's how I can put it out. But it's wonderful. Let's not stop. Let everybody learn this, because this is where the future is. Oh, and lastly, before I forget, it has to be in such a way that it's so irresistible that when you're using it, you don't even know you're using blockchain, and you're just doing things and you just know something somewhere. It's like when you're driving, not everybody is a mechanic, or not everybody is a chef who knows, like, I put garlic, I put onion, I put that. No, like, you're just eating or you're just driving and enjoying the thing. So that's how easy it should be to enjoy these technologies. Let the techies and developers do their thing, and let the people like lawyers and policymakers see how it can be brought into the general public in a safe way. But telling people don't mess with this or don't do this, or it's a way of fraud, it's a way of what, those are lies, and you're throwing out what they say in England, you're throwing out the baby with the bath water.
Thank you so much. I actually gained a lot. I think I can actually relate to what you said about the tracking the egusi from this place to this place. I was
the
actually,
jollof, the Nigerian or the Ghanaian one, which one is better? We can track that.
I was actually ordered a product, and then I tracked, but then I didn't actually just check the final product before like ordering. And then I received it, and it was what I ordered versus what I got. And I was like, oh, if blockchain was here, like was implemented in this platform, I would have actually known right from time that, oh, this is not what I wanted to order. So I think you imputing that and actually breaking it down into an example was really good. And also you actually mentioned about the healthcare implementation, whereby you said you don't have to go to the hospital always for your record. I can actually still relate to that, because I think here in the country where I am, Rwanda, they would, if whereby you have like any accident, they would just want
Hey,
to.
you're in Rwanda. Beat us.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Okay, so they would want to know like if you have any health like records before like treating you. So imagine how your health record is in Nigeria, and then you have to fly back to Nigeria to get the health record or try to reach out to the doctors to send. It's a whole lot. Thank you.
Similua, I have a question for you.
Oh, okay.
Rwanda is a very forward-thinking country in terms of IT. So where is Rwanda at in terms of its blockchain implementation?
Rwanda, I think they have been trying to adopt blockchain technology, but then it's not as if they adopted it very well, because there are still some restriction, like via what we can do and what not to do. Because I think in Rwanda, I think about 2 or 3 years ago, a guy scammed a lot of Rwandan citizen just this invests like how they call it M&M, just invest, so you invest, and then you invest and get like 70% profit within 3 days or within 3 hours and all like that. So ever since then, they've been very, very careful of the kind of people or the kind of companies that come and register.
But now you understand that it's important to get the distinction between trading and utility.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's fundamental. It's important to understand that there is a key distinction between the two.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think that is what my company, African Blockchain Institute, they are also based here. So I think we are trying our best to make sure that the blockchain adoption in this place moves to the high level. All right. Thank you so much. This has been like an insightful an enlightening conversation. I really appreciate you, Brian, Daniel, Famina, for your contributions. Okay, so once again to the members, please, the participants, if you have any questions, kindly send them to the link that has been dropped on the chat. And do you have any final words, Mr. Daniel?
No, no, again, thank you for having me. I think, we went through in the basic, let's say, questions that, what blockchain, can improve in the daily basis, on the individuals. I think there's still a long way to go because it's not depending on us. But what is key, the fact that, is more and more adopted doesn't sound because, blockchain was linked 5 years ago basically to crypto. And not blockchain is basically the decentralized database can be used for many different aspects, right? And then it's just I think what I said that again, thank you very much. Just keep moving. I shared a very basic course is 34 hours, which is for free. Everyone can sign, and there are videos, exercises, and so on and so on. And this is one of the best way to get know the technology, and then beyond. It's up to the person, the individual, to go to one way to another. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Famina, any final words for us?
Actually, thank you for having me tonight. And actually, it's night here in India. So yeah, as a final word, I would like to just say that for me, the next generation is owning our own data, as Brian just mentioned. What I'm looking for, what I'm looking at blockchain when we are implementing a blockchain solution, the next generation of owning our own data, even if it's in a social media or anything, any record of our own data, it should be owned by ourselves, right? So yes. That is something that that's the most important application of blockchain for me, because the next generation is the data is going to be it's going to be like the most valuable thing any human human is going to have. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Oh, okay. I'm also looking forward to that. All right. Oh, Mr. Brian.
Okay, no, sorry.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for organizing this, and thank you for everybody who attended, everybody from the No Long Thing Bootcamp community and Crypto Mondays Caribbean, and soon Crypto Mondays Africa. We are about building community because there's so much information out there, but you have to have a central place of getting this information, credible information. Doesn't matter what part of your journey in Web3 you are. And just shout out to you, African Blockchain Institute, for bringing this together. You know what I mean? It's such a beautiful thing, and such partnerships go incredibly long way. In terms of blockchain, it's not going to stop. And my dream is just to see a sustainable future where there's equity in terms of resource distribution. And the greatest investment you can make is in your brain, and understanding this technology, because it's like how the internet came, and there was internet millionaires, and you still have them, the Facebooks and the Instagrams and the Googles, they are there. But now you have this new transition into Web3 where you can build dApps, those decentralized apps, and DAOs, and all that. And then there's like Web3 browsers that incentivize you when you're spending time on the website. You have things like and I'm not selling. You have platforms like Blockchain Lex Group and Crypto Mondays. When you do like some of our courses like No Long Thing, we incentivize you to learn. We pay you to learn. That's the future of this technology. It's about equity and making everybody enjoy a piece of ownership. And that's how it should be. You shouldn't be starving, because a hungry man is an angry man, and that's how empires fall. So let's embrace this. Let's build Africa, and let's not just build Africa in isolation. We can build together Africa, the Caribbean, Europe, India, Asia. Let's just do it all together and help each other to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Brian. Oh, I'm seeing Famina in the chat. You are stating Amstar.
No, nothing. I was just, talking with Daniel.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for this section. All right. I would be inviting my colleague to take up the Q&A section. Salim?
You are mute.
Your mic is mute.
Also, okay. I came last, but I was here with you, and we really appreciate all the inputs, especially by the speakers. And it is worth having you here with us. By the way, we have one question asked in the chat box, which came from Brenda Kopani. She was asking, the right to be forgotten is definitely worth considering. With that in mind, I would like to ask what types of data will be included on the blockchain. So that's her question.
So I'm guessing that comes to me.
Okay, yeah, most likely.
Okay, so Brenda, you see, in terms of the GDPR, so the GDPR is a statute, and if some of the provisions on the GDPR have not been updated, it means they're still law. But there's a way the European Court debates some of these issues, especially when it comes to privacy and things like the right to be forgotten and to be erased. So there's actually case law about that. It's just I didn't note it down, but there is case law on that. So you could message me on LinkedIn. I'll send you some of the cases if you're interested in reading cases. Yeah, but you can record any data on the blockchain. You could even just save photos or music or like your diary or anything. Not quite your diary, but you can save anything. You know what I mean? Literally anything can go on the chain. So in terms of things that deal with the GDPR, potentially, let's say if you're a data manager, health records, potentially a hospital or a school or such things. So as long as you're handling public data, you have to comply with the GDPR.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Brian. I think that's the only question asked.
Thank you so much, Salim.
From the audience.
Anybody from the panel wanted to add on that? Femina, Daniel?
No, I mean, it's enough. Okay, you are the lawyer here, I think.
Okay, cool.
Lawyer question. Okay, and I think was quite, let's say, quite proper answer. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Sydney, I think that's the end of the questions. So,
all right, thank you, Salim. I would be giving the mic to Simile for the closing remarks.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. We can hear you.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much, Simi, for that wonderful moderation. Thank you, Salim. And thank you to our panelists. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Femina. It was actually the conversation I was looking forward to, a forward-thinking conversation, a conversation that can paint what the future of governors, of governments in Africa can look like, and especially demystifying the concept of blockchain. And in this conversation, we have been able to see practically how we can implement this in our day-to-day activities that affect us as individual. Femina was talking about taxes, and Brian was talking about health records, owning your own records. These are some of the ways that we can relate with it, even if we are not developers, even if we are not building solutions by ourselves, but we know that there are people on this call that probably are just, hearing about blockchain for the first time. They are still wondering what is really this technology about. And I'm excited also about the nuances. We are also able to see the limitation of blockchain. It's not like a one size fits all. It's going to answer your solve your problem on corruption or the on governance. Is not going to bring all the answers. Brian was talking about a particular technology that can solve a particular problem better than blockchain. I think that was correct. Yeah. So having all these nuances in place kind of help us see, oh yeah, we can apply blockchain here. These are the outputs when we apply it, and also these are the other considerations. So thank you very much for joining this conversation. And again, we are Africa Blockchain Institute. We are based in Rwanda. And in African Blockchain Institute, we have three priorities: blockchain research, blockchain education, blockchain deployment for businesses, organizations, governments, for starters looking to deploy blockchain solution. And this is one of the ways that we are seeking that people will know what blockchain is. Like for real, it has been associated for a long time with cryptocurrency, but it's not bad because that's like the very use case that everybody can relate with. But we are hoping that we are able to change the narrative, especially in Africa, and conversations like this would birth more solution. Somebody said on the panel the other time that we don't have to wait for the government. We can begin to create the solution. So I'm hoping that this conversation has sparked some ideas in our mind, and then we can also connect with each other. So you can connect with us on LinkedIn at Africa Blockchain Institute. You can check our website, African Blockchain Institute, on Twitter, everywhere you can you can find us there. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you to our panelists. A very big thank you to you for gracing this platform. And we can take the connection forward, connect with the member of the audience on LinkedIn and everywhere. So thank you. We've come to the end of this panel session. We hope that in the next one, we'll catch up there. Thank you very much.
Thank
Have
you.
a lovely evening. Yeah, bye.
Bye, guys.